so toka kadai. Rochelle White, how are you? How is Australia? Welcome. Bidemi, how is Cyprus? Shigo, how is Spain? Stella Nuhu, how is Abuja? We have the whole world coming together now. Susan Ndewere, welcome from Zimbabwe. MJ, welcome from London. Shinwe, welcome from England. Denise, welcome from Vinita. Deborah Cole, welcome from, is it Deborah Cole? It's America, right? Atlanta? Olayinka Shehu. That's from, where is Olayinka Shehu from? Is it Nigeria or where? Solomon Joseph. Lara Shomoye from Ireland. Mike Fries. Mike Fries is from where? Are you from Germany or Mike? Are you from Germany or America? ID Opunk. Ide Opunk. Stella Nuhu. Anastasia McDonald. Deborah Cole. Godwin Ibekwe. That's from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Olayinka Shehu is from Scotland, Aberdeen. Okay. Deborah Cole is from London. Oh, I see. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to have a session today with our Bishop Eberigai from San Antonio, California. Texas, San Antonio, Texas. Do they have San Antonio also in California? That's Texas, okay. Okay, Mike Fries is living in Denmark. Okay, Denmark. All right, welcome. Well, I think it's time for us to begin. Okay, let me introduce you to our bishop here, Bishop Richard Eberigai. Now, that name, Bishop, sounds Nigerian to me.
Yes, it is.
But you look and sound American. Tell us the mystery behind all that.
My parents were from Nigeria, from Edo State, EDO.
Okay, Edo. It's right. Edo. It's called Edo State.
All right, and I was born in Ibadan State in Nigeria.
That's Ibadan.
Right.
Ibadan State.
That's right.
I think Ibadan. You are born in Ibadan.
That's right.
So you don't speak any Nigerian language?
No, I don't.
Wow. When you were in Nigeria, could you speak?
A little bit.
But you forgot?
I would say so.
Wow. Like me too. I forgot, but I could still understand.
I see.
How long have you been away from Nigeria?
Over 30 years.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Tell us about yourself. People would like to know you more.
Well, I got called into ministry. I became a Christian at a very early age in life, in my early teens, and I got called thereafter. And so my life is made up of being in business and also being in ministry. And I got thrusted into the prophetic ministry when the prophetic and the teaching ministry wasn't.
They want you to speak louder.
Oh, when the prophetic, that's okay, I can raise my volume. I raise my volume. Where the prophetic and the teaching ministry wasn't popular. That was when I got into ministry and started ministering by the grace of God. My background, so all my life I had done was business and ministry. Before the said marketplace became very popular, that had been the area the Lord had allowed me to thrive. I had had the opportunity to travel different parts of the world and minister to politicians, royal families, business mogul, name who is the who's who. I have had the opportunity by the grace of God to bring the word of the Lord, a precise word of the Lord in their lives. So we have over 40 years of ministry, a clean track record, and we give God glory for that.
Now, what took you out of Nigeria, though?
It was just a divine appointment, and also I thought it was time to expand my learning. So I would say it's both academic and business related.
And since you've been there, what have you been engaged in? What's your life been?
Well, since being in the United States, I originally moved to New York. New York is considered my home before I got moved to, later I moved to San Antonio, Texas, where I now live. But in New York, we immediately got into ministry.
How long were you in New York?
Oh, greater than any other place on the face of the earth. So the greatest portion of my life is spent in New York. I just moved to San Antonio not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so New York is considered my home. San Antonio is considered my new home.
So you used to pastor in New York?
Yes, I did. I had some work in New York before moving to San Antonio, Texas. Right.
All right. Do you remember our first meeting? You told me. I forgot about it.
I remember.
Would you like to tell us the story of how we met?
I was at a conference, and I normally don't hang out a lot with conferences, but I was at this conference that's meant for supposed to be the leaders, the who's who, and what have you. And
the apostles, the prophets.
Right, the noticeable, prominent ones were supposed to be at the meeting. And I had the opportunity to be invited, and this was, I believe, was in Dallas. And the late Peter Wagner was coordinating the last phase of the meeting. And he was talking about certain things about an apostle that needed some medical attention and stuff. And but it kept going on, and you got up. I looked to my right, as I'm sitting to the left. I looked to my right, way back there. You got up and you said, "Sir, could we please?"
But you didn't know who I was.
No idea. I had no clue. You said,
just a young man.
Yeah, you got up. This gentleman got up and said, "Sir, can we please just pray for this man? You know, we've been talking about this problem for the longest time. Could we just pray for him, that God heal him?" And I thought, wow, I like this guy. I didn't know who you were. And then around me there were just a lot of people in the meeting. And you sort of insisted, let's just pray, let God heal this man right here, right now, with all the anointing that's in this house. Let's just see God move right now.
All this anointed.
Right. Let's just, while we keep, moaning over the situation, and you were kind of talked to, down in the
I was trying to convince them, but they was trying to sit me down.
So brother, yeah, brother, okay, brother, all right, sit down. So I was watching, so you look real frustrated, so you just, sat down, shrugged your shoulder like, dear Lord. And then the Lord spoke to me and said, I want you to watch, and I want you to listen. And I had no clue why I had to watch and listen. But the next second I heard,
but when I was saying that, what was going on around you?
That's what, a lot of people, I can hear people say, can he just shut up and sit down? You can hear, he just shut up and sit down. What's wrong with him? Because nobody knew, a lot of the people didn't know who you were. And the Lord said, I want you to watch, and I want you to listen and see hypocrisy amongst the body. So soon after that, it was time for the break. And he brought the meeting to a break. Peter Wagner. So before he officially left everybody, he said, oh, by the way, the gentleman who was talking a few minutes ago, he's the pastor, he's from Europe, he's the pastor of the largest church in Europe. And suddenly everybody went, oh, and the same folks who were almost screaming, lynch him, the same folks, oh, brother. And the Lord said, I want you to sit back and watch. So I sat back and they got up, ran up to where you were. Oh, brother, the Lord bless you. Oh, what a plan. You were so inspiring. And I'm thinking, you're lying. Yeah, you're so anointed. I'm like, you're lying, man. I heard what you said.
Let's get your card. Take your card.
Yeah, I'm a pastor of such and such church. And it was just pathetic. And this went on for a while. And it was after that, I had no clue what the Lord was going to do. It was after that the Lord said, go to him, I want to talk to him. That's when I came to you and asked you, are you open to the prophetic? And if not, not a problem. I'm not looking for somebody to share with. And then, of course, shared what I did with you.
That's amazing, huh? What a story. What a story. What a story. Wow. And it's been quite a while. Then after that we met in
Austin, Texas.
In Austin, Texas, yes. But then I started seeing you. You wanted to come to Europe a few times, but it couldn't work out. Mm-hmm. And then I started this live program.
Correct.
Now, people like you who are successful bishops and men of God, you know, and you've seen it all. Because you've seen it all, and you know, not just because you've seen it all. People who are big normally don't listen to other men. So, but then when I began to see you come on to listen, to watch this program over and over again, I was saying, wow, what a humble man. I cannot believe that. So what is it that endeared you to, you know, to stoop so low, to begin to, you know, follow these live broadcasts that you are doing?
Well, I'd say it's not, in my opinion, this ain't stooping low. It ain't. Let's correct that. It's not stooping low. And secondly, it's a tremendous opportunity. I had said to you maybe a few yesterday or a day ago, that I typically stop going to conferences because it's a repetition of the past. A lot of them, there are great conferences out there, but a lot of them is just repetition of the past, competition. You spend money on hotel, meal, registration, offering,
and repetition of the same message.
And at the end of the day, you walk home with nothing tangible. It's just the old thing that you had repackaged. So the first time I saw your broadcast, it was very. What attracted me to the platform is what you were teaching was practical, it was relevant, it was transformative, it was truth, and you had no apologies for what you were saying. As revolutionary as it was, you were not looking for popular vote. You were not looking to be liked and to be embraced by the religious community that is not seeking for the truth. It was very clear that your assignment was crystal clear. You wanted those that were hungered for the truth. That to me was.
How did you know all that?
I'm a keen observer. I'm a gifted observer. Very analytical. But I just watched, and I listened to the comments that you gave, and I watched also the Q&A, the questions you answered, questions that preachers in 50 years of ministry will avoid like a plague. You attacked those questions with such humility. That to me spoke volumes. So I took my time. I listened, I analyzed, I took it apart. It was very clear. In each of the program, it wasn't one of those where the individual came strong one program and the next program he came in and apologized. I don't want to offend, those of you who still love religious cookies and candies. It just wasn't that. You were very focused in what you were doing, and not only that, it was transformative. You were teaching things that were practical. The key to my excitement was what you were teaching was relevant, was practical, it was transformative. When anybody has that ingredients, you can stand in the heart of the snow and watch or listen to that teaching. So in my opinion, I almost feel like I did you disfavor, because this is better than majority, 80% of the conferences I've ever been to my life. I've been in ministry for 40 years, a little over 40 years now. October 2015 was 40 years. And 70% of the conferences that I've been to do not have substance, such as the substance you have on your platform. So for me, it was a great honor. And so I took it upon me to make as many people as possible, saved or unsaved, didn't matter. If they're breathing, they're human. I wanted them to be exposed to the truth that you were presenting.
But how come that what you said you noticed, probably other people notice it too, but that's what angered them, or that's what angers them. A lot of pastors and ministers have actually said, who does this man think he is? He's talking so directly, such a, speaking. I mean, actually, they have actually branded me as a pastor bashing other pastors.
Wow.
Or bashing other ministers, other men of God. That I'm calling churches names and other ministers, that I'm pulling people, the other churches down. Why did it come across to you different? I can understand that.
Well, go back to my story before I got saved, and this is I guess the second time I'm telling the story. I had a very radical experience. I grew up in a family where I was raised to be an intellectual. You had to be a thinker, think things through, be very analytical, and I hated the church with a passion.
Wow.
I thought before I got saved, at a very young age, I had a business that was successful but lacked wisdom, so I just gave money to everybody that showed up. But I was very, very convinced as a non-believer that my call was to destroy the Church of Jesus Christ. I was that defiant. So I would go to a church service with a notepad, big building, big church building, and sit in the back, and they would think that I was taking notes of what the preacher was preaching. Well, I did a little bit of math in school, and I love physics, but I was actually doing mathematical equation. I knew how to build, way back then, I knew how to build explosives because I did physics in school. So what I was sitting there doing was really mathematically figuring out the best place to put the explosive, because I felt God called me to blow up churches. I was sold to that proposition because I hated what I saw. I saw two examples. I saw an apostle fondling a girl who was about 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, this is a man of God. He's close to God, and he's doing this, and I'm not even close. I'm not one of them. Then I sure don't want to be any part of them. That was one experience. And I had another experience with another preacher man who was actually doing something that was really a heathen wouldn't do that. So I came to the conclusion that whatever upsets you, God's called you to solve. So I thought my assignment in life was to blow up churches. So
this was before you got born again?
Yes, before I became a Christian. So
back in Africa?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So I thought this is my assignment in life. So I would go to buildings and just take notes, the number of people, the number of pews, mathematically, and that was my biggest passion. And I listened to preachers and really just didn't connect. It was retelling stories. Mary had a little lamb, and of course the most popular Daniel was in a lion's den, and so what? I can read it for myself. So it was in the midst of that I was in a bus, and a young fellow, just a young man, gave me a literature. Back then you call it a tract. Gave me a tract, and he said, "I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to come to your house and discuss scripture." Well, I thought, who do you think you think I'm scared? The other side of my story, before I got saved, I took courses on religious study. I wanted to know the Bible so I can contend with preachers, because I knew Christians don't read the Bible, period.
Wow.
They depended on whatever the preacher said. So I took my time to study the Bible. I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't saved at all. But I was doing that to be able to take preachers apart. So it gave me an advantage over a lot of preachers. So my take was, this gentleman came and gave me this literature, and I gave him my address, which was the devil's biggest mistake, because I thought he'll never show up. But a few weeks later, somebody knocked on my door, and I was clear-headed. I opened my door. It was this individual. He came into my apartment, and he started talking about scriptures. Well, he talked. I tried to argue with him because I knew how to set people up, because I knew scriptures that they don't know. I knew they don't study the Bible. But he said to me, all I'm going to talk about is the love of God. And that just irritated me back then. So after all of that, he said, let's close our eyes, let's go on our knees, and we'll pray to the Lord. And I thought, he thinks I'm stupid. If I close my eyes, he'll start stealing stuff. So we got on our knees. He closed, because I believed all Christians were crooks. That was my perception. So we got on our knees, so I could close one eye, had the other eye open, and while he was praying, the painting on the walls in my apartment turned bluish. And I thought, he must be spraying something. I looked at his hands were together, there was nothing in his hands. And also I looked up in my ceiling of my apartment, there was this, I didn't know what it was, this blue cloud. I said, this is blue smoke. But now I know it's, of course, the glory of God, manifested glory. It's just a blue smoke up there. So when he got through praying, I said, he could tell something was wrong. I said to him, what's the color on the wall? He said, eggshell and white. I said, what's up? He looked up, he said, the ceiling fan. Well, I could see the cloud, this blue cloud, he couldn't. So I told him to please leave as quick as possible. So when he left, I locked the door, got on my knees, I prayed what must be considered in the archives of heaven one of the dumbest sinner's prayers. I got on my knees and I told Jesus, I'm going to give you one chance. I'm giving God one chance. I'm a man of my words. I expect you to perform or else you forget about it. I say, if you think you'll trick me with the blue cloud and the chain, the paint on my wall, you might as well forget about it. And I got on my knees, I prayed the sinner's prayer, believed the Lord. I went through the stages and I meant what I saw because I was really frightened by what I had seen. It was right after that I felt a man's hand on my head. Nobody was in the room, but a man's hand was on my head. And that's when my walk with the Lord began. So I was not brought into the kingdom because some preacher who could preach real good or somebody. I had 2 encounters, 2 visitations of the Lord after that, where the Lord in body physically walked into my room and said some things to me which I'll never forget. That's part of my call, my purpose in life. So for me, I've seen the reality of the scripture. So I can tell, not based on the magnitude of an individual's church or the small size of the church, but I can see through the veil by the grace of God. So for me, when I listened to your broadcast and what you taught that others may have taken out of context, my summation would be the fact that they have no understanding of the gospel of the kingdom. Yeah. It is impossible to hear what you teach and understand the gospel of the kingdom and be offended at the same time. So I would say it's the lack of understanding of the gospel of the kingdom.
But many people actually come back and say that Pastor Sunday is attacking other pastors. That's what they think. I said, but I don't mention the name of any pastors or any ministry. Normally, I only very rarely do I mention the names of people. I'm just about the truth. I said, as long as it's the truth, what's your problem? You should be more concerned about it being the truth. And many people that are watching us today will tell you the same thing, that a lot of people, a lot of maybe their pastors actually say that in fact, some people who watch this program, I heard, are afraid of identifying themselves or commenting so that other people will not know, because they don't want to get a backlash from their pastors. But what do you think these messages have done, though? Because I've done it for 8 months. I did it for 8 months, and then a new season now. But what do you think the impact of these messages have been from your observation to actually came out in the first place?
Well, personally, I've learned some things personally. Listening to the program and watching the broadcast, but I'd say that the last 6 months of training or the last 6 months of teaching is worth, without exaggeration, is worth a lifetime of learning for most people. So there are people that have been in church for the last 20, 30 years that have not gotten as much truth as has been taught in the last 6 months. So it is very transformative. It's just truth that is not just theological, but it's truth that is practical, it's usable, it's transformative, it's detailed, it's well organized, it's consumable. As far as I'm concerned, I really don't see the content as attacking the church per se. Somebody would have to tell the truth. Somebody would have to say what's wrong. It's impossible, even in business, it's impossible to develop a culture without having some checks and balances. And it's impossible to develop a kingdom church without having checks and balances. Somebody will have to be able to say, this practice is wrong. We got to stop doing this. And I believe somebody got to be able to say that without any apologies whatsoever. So in my opinion, what I have seen, what I have observed on the platform in your teachings, I do not see them. They have not come across to me as criticism. They have been very precise observation. I mean, when a preacher or prophet, I'll give an example without naming names. This happened in America, where a prophet prophesied what was going to happen another year, but actually he was reading word for word what a psychic had said, and the psychic had date on the so-called prediction that she had. The countries the psychic mentioned, this prophet mentioned. The people the psychic mentioned, the prophet mentioned. Well, the church cannot be quiet and say, well, we ain't going to say nothing, because if we say something, then it seems like we're bashing each other. Then you are encouraging people, to be deceptive. Now, I don't know, it's between him and God, but I never really got, from everything I've listened, as far as that's concerned, I really never heard any clear-cut explanation for how that coincidentally happened. But my point is, somebody would have to be able to say, this is wrong in the body. You can never build a system. It's impossible to build a system or anything for that matter without having checks and balances. So I believe that somebody would have to have the boldness not to play religion and not to play religious politics, to be able to say, this is wrong, we got to correct this, and this is what we do, what we got to do to make us better. What I have observed that I believe is the balance in your presentation, you have not only highlighted the problems. Now, if all you're doing is just highlighting the problem, I will personally have a problem with that, because any idiot can find a problem. But you identify problems and you present solution. What we got to do, this is what God expects of the body to do. This is how church is supposed to be. So in my opinion, problem identified, solution presented, that's the way to go.
Then I remember you were also talking about not just the spiritual aspect of life and the scriptures, but also other aspects like psychological needs of people.
Right.
Yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It's been years, over the last 40 years in ministry, the majority of the predominant message that you hear or what comes from the pulpit is spiritual. And I listen carefully, analytically to what you teach. Yes, you teach the spiritual, but the way you present the spiritual is holistic. It's connected to the psychological, it's connected to the physical. So I listen to, and you've taught what I would call life principles, common sense principles. You make very definitive analysis and give very, very valid explanation how people ought to wake up and not just drown themselves with religion, but do things in the natural that will produce tangible earthly results. Nobody prayed enough, nobody fasted enough for an airplane to just supernaturally manifest. And this is sad truth. It's just sad. So when I hear you say things that's designed to propel the body of Christ to start thinking of feeding ourselves psychologically, start feeding our physical body the right content, and also knowing that the spiritual, the physical, and psychological all work together. It's the whole man that God wants to deal with. And the message that I've heard you teach, the lessons, different teachings that you presented, actually address all these three areas. And in the last 40 years, I would say very few, if there are 10, that's a super stretch, ministries, not knocking anybody, it's just my experience, that have really focused on the three dimensions of a man. Typically what you find is people segment one particular thing. I'm a prophet, I'm prophetic, so everything is interpreted in the light of the prophetic, ignoring the other part of the gospel, ignoring the full gospel. And the other, well, mine is just healing, so all his life is just, well, the kingdom is
faith.
Others faith, this prosperity, and it's all segmented, when in reality, you can still have your emphasis. I've been prophesying for at least 40 years, and we have a clean track record. But I know I'm smart enough with my bald head to know that if you're hanging on just prophecy without the Word of God, without understanding the psychology of the Word of God, the physical reality of the Word of God, the individual will actually set themselves up for a fall. So there is a balance, and you present that balance in your teachings. People listen to you. Someone might listen to one of your teachings and wonder, is this a seminar? Is this Christian? Because they're not expecting. And I've actually heard somebody say that.
We have some Buddhists,
right?
And the Muslims coming.
I remember one of the occasions you had the show I was watching, and there was somebody who came in and identified himself as a Muslim, and he said, "But my God, this is so true. This is real." Well, that's a Muslim. But he listened to the teaching he saw was practical truth, practical living, and he realized that from the sound of what he wrote, you can tell he was startled, he was shocked that the church, a Christian, can teach beyond just die and go to heaven. That's the simplest thing to do. Stop breathing, you'll be in heaven. That's easy to do. But it's living here that a lot of people don't understand how to. And one of the profound things that I've seen over the length of time that you've done your program is the fact that you teach laws and principles. Letting people know this planet runs on the fuel of laws and principle. You don't understand the laws and the principles, being a good-hearted individual, loving the Lord, speaking in tongues for 5-6 hours ain't going to do it. And so I really appreciate the fact that you bring that balance. So in my opinion, I see no reason for any preacher who really wants to have an impact, who wants to live this world better than they came into it. Well, I see no reason to have a problem with what you're teaching. I've listened to a lot of your teaching. I went to your YouTube channel and listened to a variety of teachings across the paradigm. I've had about 2, without exaggeration, 2 consecutive weeks where from sunrise to sunset, everything I listen to were your teachings on Facebook, because if I'm going to build a relationship with a man, I need to really know that individual. Not just one teaching, but I need to see so many dimensions of what this individual is presenting. So see the heart of it. And there is that element of consistency across the board that is rare to find. You usually find some of that and a little bit of pampering, and you're putting materials out there that's priceless, and you're asking people, I've heard you say things that just, it's mind-boggling. You're asking people to take this for free, do whatever you can to increase the kingdom of God. You could have sold all of those. I mean, you have a proven track record in building things. You could have developed all kinds of systems to sell each of these messages, and people are paying. I've paid for it. We've all paid for messages that aren't worth a dime. Adds no value to it. I have no apologies. People know me. I have no apologies for what I'm saying. It's the truth. So it ain't worth a dime, but you paid for it. And I'm not, it got to the point you have to wake up that you cannot have such conflict. 99 principles to faith, 3 principles to faith, 7 principles. Well, God's not confused. God's not confused. So I believe that if an individual really say that they are gleaning from what you're presenting, I will recommend to those on this platform and those watching and listening, do yourself a great favor. Go to YouTube. Your television, I bless God for television. I'm not knocking television, but I guarantee you'll add more value to your life in 7 days listening to those big teachings on YouTube 24/7 than you would have added value to your life in 7 years, in 2 weeks. I guarantee. Been there, done it. I know what I'm talking about. It works. It works. Doesn't matter your race, color, nativity, or what denomination you came out of. Truth has no color. Truth is just truth, and it's transformative. So I can tell you this much. That's the reason I went out of my way, came up with strategies to promote these teachings. They're there to get more people saved and unsaved, business people, people in ministry, across the board. I don't care if they're Hindus. Anybody I can get to listen to these teachings because they are that transformative, and I believe in them.
By the way, for those people right now and don't know this, you remember there was a time that we put up an announcement and with the cards. You remember those cards that were put out that so that you could use to invite your friends, where that you could print out. You have it? The cards that you could print out, we had a link for you, and you could go into the links and print out the cards, and then, you distribute it. That is Bishop Richard Eberigai who did that. So I was always thanking and acknowledging, you remember the cards, right. So this is the man that came up with the idea, and he's coming up with more ideas even now. He gave me a whole lot of them this morning. I can't believe it, and he's working on that. Why should you go ahead? Normally, nobody goes ahead or across their path or whatever, across the road to promote another man's so-called ministry. So that's how you see the heart of man, or someone that is more concerned about the kingdom growth, not concerned about himself. This man is printing out. He went to use his money to discern that thing, put it out on the internet, did everything he needed to do, and said, you will just go and copy it and distribute. Why should a man go to that extent to promote a man's ministry? So we say.
Well, I believe that we all serve the same Father. I have seen a lot of dishonesty, manipulation, witchcraft, some witchcraft called prophetic in ministry, that when you find truth, you just don't run your mouth. You put your money where your mouth is. So for me, when I sat and listened to a series of your teachings and watched the program, it was clear to me that your number one heart desire, obviously, is God. Next to that is empowering the people of God.
Yes.
I just can't say that of a lot of other platforms. They're doing a great work, but there's always, for a lot of them, there are hidden agendas, there are things that they have to glean and have to gain. It's using the people, but in this case, you allowing yourself to be used to empower God's people. Out of this 6 months of teaching this platform, a lot of people have found their rhythm. I read the comments. I take things apart. I have a forensic way of thinking. And I'm hearing people talk about who they were a month ago and who they are 30 days later. People who have listened to your teaching, just 30 days are talking about how transformed their lives are. I mean, if somebody's life can be transformed in 30 days and they're at the point of tears because they have been in church for the last 30 years compared to 30 days, only an idiot, only an arrogant individual will not acknowledge that God is at work through that system. So I thank God for what God is doing through you and how you've allowed, He didn't force you, you allowed yourself to be used by God to be able to bring God's people to their place of discovery. And on the platform, a lot of people talk about how they've discovered, they found their rhythm, they found their purpose. And I listen carefully to how they're thankful, but these are the same folks. Some of them, of course, it's not video, but you can tell that they're at the point of tears because they've spent so much of their lives in some of our churches that are nothing but a fish tank. The psychology of a fish tank is not growth. It's just feed enough to stay alive. The ocean is meant for growth. The fish tank is meant for restriction. And sad to say, some of our religious places called churches are a fish tank. They're not designed for growth. They're designed for restriction. What you have presented is an ocean where everyone can grow, find their rhythm, fulfill their purpose in God, and you're doing that in such a loving manner. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe that the reason why whatever I can contribute, whatever I can do on the face of the earth, it doesn't matter to me what anybody thinks. That I have no reputation, so to speak, to defend and protect. If Jesus didn't protect and defend, who am I? I know what He called me to do. I'm standing for truth. I'm not a religious politician. And so when I find truth, I want to be like the early disciples. Go tell somebody else. Encourage somebody else at all costs. Do whatever you can. If somebody said, I believe in you, then show me. I believe in not just talk. I believe you back it up with action. Not to show off, not to earn credit. You do it as unto the Lord. So my opinion and my belief and what I have seen and what I have gleaned from your platform and this platform and the lives that have been transformed. Absolutely phenomenal. When somebody can say, I've been in church for 30 years, but in 30 days of listening to your teachings, my eyes, scales are falling off my eyes. I feel like I just got born again. When somebody can say that I've been a Christian for 30 solid years, you cannot deny what God is doing through this platform, and I'm forever thankful for it.
I know, Bishop, that you are not through yet. You are actually coming here with some more ideas. Tell us about some of the more ideas that you have that you planning to use to promote this platform.
Well, one of the I had thought about going back home, when I get back home, is to go to the newspapers, because the power of question, and have take an ad in the paper and just ask a question. Have you visited DSA TV?
Just one statement.
That's it. The natural human instinct is, what is that? Have you? And of course, oh my, you don't know what you're missing if you have not visited DSA TV.
And then the link.
And then you have the link so that people can go, because what's on this platform is not just meant for religious, not just for Christians. People can listen to this and be transformed. So one of the strategy is to use a newspaper. Another, obviously, is to have cards printed on both sides. So one side you have all the schedule for the program. On the other side you have the link, which with the same question: have you watched DSA television? Anybody. I know how people,
believers, non-believers,
everybody can connect with that. Well, there are places in America that you can go to and you leave cards. So another strategy is to go to places where have stats of those cards. Some restaurants actually allow you to put cards, and we have business cards. So one of the strategies to go to places like that, have those cards with the question: have you ever watched DSA TV? And the link in the bottom. And then on the flip side, one of the books that I know will really cause people to think quickly: Money Would Make You Rich.
So what then will make me?
Right. So as a result of that, they want to know, well, if money would make me rich, what? Now I've engaged that individual without being there. So the strategy is to be able to engage people while I'm not there, while we are not there. And then the other one that I intend to do, there are organizations back in America, they do a lot of distribution.
Sir, before you go,
Yes.
I want to stop and give a comment here.
Yes.
Can you see the wisdom of God operating through the bishop? You guys, I think we should all implement that strategy. Everybody, just one statement. That's what Bishop is saying. Just ask one question. You could do it in your local newspaper. Big, have you been watching DSA TV? The link. If you're not, you are missing so much. Then the link. Even our Facebook timeline, we could make it a matter of principle 5 times a day to just put, have you been watching DSA TV, and put the link. Just put it on your Facebook, timeline. On your timeline, just ask the question: have you been watching DSA TV? If not, put the link. You are missing so much. Put the link. And then he wants to go and do that and do a card where that same question is, and he wants to distribute all over America those cards, just asking the question: have you been watching DSA TV? And the other side, put Money Won't Make You Rich picture of the book. And then people, look for it as well, Amazon. So, this man is a genius. He already did it with the cards, and he said, just go and distribute the cards anywhere you are, and the link, give the links out. And another thing he said that I don't want us to miss out. By the way, if you have not shared this message, I'm just feeling sorry. I didn't say we should go and share. Let's go and share right now. I just beg you, because this man is saying so much wisdom here. I want you to go share. Let's go share the link. Let's stop right now and go look for our share button. Let's quickly go and share right now before the bishop continues. Let's go and share. Let's go and share right now. right now. Right, let's stop right now and go to share the link. Let's go share the link. Tell everybody to come watch. And because this is really, just genius, and it could be used for everything as well. And then he himself put together a card. And Mayowa is going to put up the link to that card right now, so that you people could go and get the card. If you've not got your own card, you just print it out, put it in like business card, just a business card, regular business card with my picture in it, and then the link to the TV, DSA TV, and then you could just print it out and give it to everybody wherever you go. But if he has more ideas. This man is too full of more ideas of how to help everybody, as many people as possible, to get to watch and get blessed by these messages that we have been blessed with over the years. Now, another thing he said is that the testimonies are precious, that people have been going to church for all these years, and how the lives of people have been changed over these past 8 months or 6 months while you are here, maybe 5 months, some people 1 month, some people 2 months. Just as long as you've been here, your lives have been changed. I promise you that we are going to put your testimonies, just like I'm putting out the testimony of the bishop right now, and this is going on DSA TV right now. It's going live on DSA TV, and I want to put all of you on DSA TV. So what we need you to do, since you cannot not all of you can come to Ukraine, why don't we get your story? Just sit down in your home, or sit down in your house, or be walking around your compound. Just get your your smartphone or your whatever iPad, put on the video, record it, and send us the link. So send us a testimony of how your life has been changed through this live broadcast with Pastor Sunday over these past few months. So will you please do that? If you do that, it could be for how long? It could be for 30 minutes, it could be for 1 hour, it could be for 2 hours, just how long you want it. And then we want to put all that on the DSA TV. Right now, what we are showing are mainly things that I've done in Ukraine and all over the world, but from maybe next week or 2 weeks, we are going to begin to put up some of the videos from a lot of us. Many of you have your videos out there. We have been able to collect almost 200 videos, or maybe more than 200 videos from all of you. So some of you didn't send your link to us yet, but if you have done some videos and we have not found it out, please send us your links, the links to your videos, so that we could gather your videos. We want to begin to show all of you who have some videos going on. We want to begin to show all those videos. We want to begin to show all of them on DSA TV. So all of you will be seeing each other on DSA TV, apart from what you are doing on your platform. So apart from your platform, you use my platform, you use my name, you use our resources, to broadcast you to the world. Let the world see you and see what you are doing. So if you have not done your video, go do it and record your story, how the encounter with DSA TV or DSA has changed your life, and how the live broadcast has ministered to you. And if you have some ideas as well, like Bishop is giving us now, give us your ideas. Can you imagine just one statement? Have you been watching DSA TV and put it on radio, put it on television, put it on postcards, put it on even postcards? We could be doing postcards and banners on the internet everywhere. Have you been watching DSA TV? Then the link, and then we could do the same thing with our Facebook posters and Facebook status. Have you been watching DSA TV? And I hope Elizabeth Ali is there, and Shigo. They are doing posters a lot, so we should do different varieties of them. Let people copy them. Have you been watching? Let's put them out 5 times a day, and let's challenge people to go do that. So Bishop, we are all ears. Everybody is saying you are a genius here. Let's hear more of your ideas here.
I believe that we all have the opportunity to have what I tag a gas station ministry. We all go to the gas station. Since I've been here, we drove to see some of the outreaches that you have, and we had to stop at a gas station to get gas.
Yes.
That's time that has to be redeemed. And I would recommend and I would appeal to everyone that's on this platform watching, and those that will watch later, to have these cards stashed in your car. At the gas station, you pull the card while you're pumping. You're redeeming the time. You're reaching people at the gas station. You pretty much, everywhere you are valuable in the time. Grocery store. So Mike, as in the card, you didn't say anything religious. DSA, TV had that question, and then the book. So when somebody gets the card, the first thing they're thinking, is this religion? Is this one of them nuts? It doesn't say anything about that. They drop that guard, because you're not saying you're going to hell if you don't this, that, and the other. Much as the ultimate goal is to get people to the Lord, but you got to be wise. Before Jesus reached his disciples, he borrowed, especially the first sets of disciples, he borrowed their boat. Jesus was a master strategist. He borrowed their boat, and he made them sit in the boat to listen to him teach, but he borrowed their boat. So they had to be a point of contact. The woman with the issue of blood, not the woman with the issue of blood, the woman at the well, rather, Jesus, being a strategist, being very wise, Jesus engaged this woman with water. It was water that started the whole process. And everything ended up in Samaria. And of course, a great revival happened, a great awakening happened. But he started with just a simple conversation at the well. So you never really know what God will do, what God can do with a very simple conversation at the gas station, at the grocery store. The gas station is the most inactive time. That's the reason I recommend have a bunch of these cards in your car, so that when you're at the gas station, you can just reach out, to somebody. Hey, check out this television. Television is non-threatening. When people hear the word television, there's nothing threatening about that. Well, when people hear about book, about money, they obviously want to know what's next. So the right thing to do is to take the cards that you have some cards in your car, and make those cards, make those cards speak on your behalf. You ain't got to do a lot of talking. Let the card do the talking. Obviously, some folks are going to ask a question. Well, what is this all about? The answer is very simple. When you go watch this television, the programs teach you how to live and be successful in life. Don't go deep into the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel and Genesis. Just leave it alone for them, because they're really not there. It's kind of like somebody on the place of work trying to preach the gospel and telling the individual sanctification. They got no clue what you're talking about. When you tell somebody who is not a Christian sanctification, he's thinking, is that a new candy bar? Is that a new soda? Is that a new slice of bread? Is that a new product? He had no clue what you're talking about. So we meet people, engage people at the point of their need. So when you look at Jesus, he always is a master strategist. He always took something natural to engage people for something spiritual. With the woman at the well, it was water. The water started the conversation, ended up impacting the whole city. So you never know what questions will be asked when you go to a gas station. So let's take that advantage, but you gotta have these cards in your car, because they will go a long way. I also thought, here's something else for those who have considered themselves part of the DSA family. It's very simple. I guarantee you, food has a way to make people change their mind. People have ways to respond. If you say, well, will you come visit? I'm serving, or we will be having some things to eat. People just change, they'll make room for it. And here's where I'm going. I also believe that in order to promote the platform, we can invite friends and families and what have you. Have one evening, have a 30 days to plan this, so that you send email, you send stuff, you let people know, you call them, you talk to them, and then have them come to the house. And at home you have cookies and candies, and of course tea. Not a big deal. So it's not expensive. But what you do is you tell your testimony. The reason this is powerful, they know you. They know you've been religious all your life. And here you're telling them reality. I am transformed. Some of you wondered, and you're telling them, some of you have been wondering why I'm changed, I'm different. Here's what happened to me. I began to watch DSA Network And this series of teachings and training absolutely revolutionized my life. And then while you're there, thank God for technology, you beam the broadcast on your television, and not a long time, just let them watch maybe 30 minutes or what have you, and then engage everybody. Let's talk about what we just watched. What do you say? What do you think? How did this minister to you? I believe as long as we're breathing, we're to seize every opportunity in the face of the earth to impact somebody's life. I believe in...
Or you would take them to YouTube when I use it.
Right. The YouTube is a living library. It's always there. So go to YouTube, pull one of the teachings, conversion. I can guarantee you the teaching on conversion, 99.9% of the folks that you know have never heard it. They don't know that they need to convert what God has given to them, time. They don't even know that their lives are just as valuable as the use or abuse of their time. So when you present this truth to them and you let them watch clips of it and let them know this is just the tip of the iceberg, the whole repertoire, the whole library, there's a whole library of powerful, practical, transformative teaching such as this that's there in YouTube, free of charge for you. The goal is for you to be all that God's called you to be while you're here on earth. When you present it in that manner, people will not only get excited, you don't have to beg people to give their lives to the Lord because they're seeing Christianity like they've never seen before. So I call the YouTube thing a living library. It's just a library that's alive, it's there. But we got to get people to go to be able to engage. So one of the strategies with a home, call it home fellowship or home party, whatever.
Tea party.
Whatever tea party, whatever works for you. But get people, key thing is tell your story. Tell your story. Let people know what happened to you. Don't forget, very important, when you're telling your story, remember to mention how long you had listened before you had transformation. Very impactful. Just don't tell the story, because when you tell a blanket story, we all draw our conclusions. Don't let people do that. You be the one that draws the conclusion and sets the parameters. I've been watching for our first 2 weeks. I watched. I couldn't believe what was happening in my life. The changes, the burden, the religiosity that was broken off my life. I had been in bondage for 10, 15 years, and 2 weeks of listening to this teaching changed my life. You have not just testified, you set parameters. There's no room for false, weird interpretation. And so somebody that you told that is thinking, if this individual can be this impactful and be transformed in 2 weeks, what's going to happen to me if I watch even for a month? So I would suggest when you're giving your testimony, please remember to mention how long and what happened and how long you have been a Christian in the religious community. Don't apologize about it. Don't apologize about it. Say, hey, I'm being transparent. I've been a Christian. I've been a good Christian. I do all the things you think about, speaking tongues in Chinese, in Korean, and everything you can think about. I did all of that for 10 years, 15 years, whatever length of time. But my life was really transformed in 2 weeks. I've been to conferences also, and it really did make much of a difference. Now, please understand, I'm not knocking conferences, but I'm all for conferences that make impact, that delivers, that make people go home with something tangible. But let people know where you were, where you are, and don't forget to tell them where you're going. If this happened to me in 2 weeks, imagine where I'm going. Imagine what will happen to me. And let them know I have not even listened to or watched all of the videos on YouTube. It's just a month worth of teaching or training. So imagine if I've watched everything, what would have happened to me? So the people are able to quantify the value of what's been presented.
Did you want to do something about the cups?
That's very well, yes, sir.
Did you talk about that?
No, I had this idea. I had designed it. I went on the internet and took Dr. Otto Large's books. I took all of his books, and I contacted a company in California and told the company I want you to print each of the book on a cup. Why even go that route? So there were about 12 of them that I was able to pull from the internet. So there were 12 cups, each like money won't make you rich, insulted by ungodliness. What's the purpose for that? What purpose does it serve? It's conversational piece. So instead of having McDonald's, God bless them, or whatever company's cup with their name and logo that does nothing for the kingdom, you have a cup that's provoking people to wonder, what is this all about? Now you get a conversation going on. You can use anything to start a conversation. The goal is to start a conversation. So with the idea with the mug, the teacup, the tea mug, was to get people to strike a conversation where somebody will go, what is this all about? Oh, you have not read this book? Oh my God, you gotta read the book, Money Won't Make You Rich. Dear Lord have mercy. You have no idea what you're missing until you read the book. I mean, you gotta be a good, I'm gonna use the circular word, you gotta be a good salesperson. Yeah. Jesus was. He presented the gospel, the kingdom of God with such class. Yeah. We gotta do the same thing. So with the cups, the reason for that, if I have guests and what have you, each of the cups that they're drinking with has one of Dr. Adolaj's book embossed on it. And obviously, I know how humans think. What's this all about? Now you ask. Of course, that gives you an opportunity to talk. Come Christmas. I believe when we think strategically and we walk strategically, we expand the kingdom of God. Instead of Christmas giving people some dumb gifts that really makes no impact, you can actually have this printed. There's a company I contacted in United Kingdom. I'm not sure what their name is. I don't have my notes here, but they print. They'll print a book cover on the cup, so I know it's doable. And it turns out they were actually less expensive than the United States. I tried California, Texas, and New York, but in London, there's a place over there, I don't have the information here, where you can have your cups made for the peanuts. It's not that expensive. So come Christmas, you can give somebody a copy of the book and a mug to go with it. You're speaking. If they take that to work, people on their jobs will see the cup. We're promoting the books. I believe 100% promoting what works. If you really want to be honest, we've all at some point in time promoted stuff that really wasn't really working, but we did it out of just good intention. Well, how much more when you have something that works? So when you have something that works, go for it. I mean, go like they say, like a gangbuster. So I firmly believe that one of the reasons why the mug will serve such purpose is because it tells people, it creates awareness. It starts conversations. It gives you room to tell people now about the network. So there are a lot of things that we can do to really promote. I believe in the books, and I believe in what Dr. Adolaja brings on a daily basis on the platform. I remember listening to the teaching that Dr. Adolaja did on suffering or crisis. Yeah. Oh my God. I've heard, and I believe you guys have too, the best of the best of the best of the best. I mean, in 40 years, I've heard pretty much everybody by the grace of God. But I recognize that there are those who have presented suffering in a close manner. But I really have never heard anybody presented suffering in a complete package without creating illusions and creating false reality and putting people through guilt trip. A lot of believers that have gone through a crisis, and if you have not listened to the teaching on crisis, suffering, I recommend that you go get it and listen to it. It'll transform the way you approach the things you go through. The false teaching you've had over the years where you believe that if anything is going wrong in your life, it's because God's abandoned you. You will be thankful to God that God was always with you. You just never knew it. You will learn that the presence of God was with you even in the midst of the crisis.
Was that not a popular message in America?
It is not, because it's not good for business. That's why it's not popular. Point blank.
What do you mean business?
Well, because it wouldn't pull the crowd. The crowd needs to hear prosperity, needs to hear that God loves them as they are where they are. I believe in prosperity. I believe you have the best of the best of the best. But that's half truth. The other balances, God can be with you. God's in you in crisis. I've written a book. I've not published it yet. But the title of the book is The Benefit of Betrayal. How crisis will be a tool that God uses to bring you into a place you could never. I mean, when you're done reading it and done listening to pastor's teaching, you will thank God, kiss God for the crisis you went through. Opposed to what you had heard religiously, which was all about you got to bind the devil and bind the devil. I've always said this. I thank the Lord that there were not intercessors when Joseph was alive. They would have prayed Joseph out of his destiny. They would have prayed him out of his destiny. Because as far as they were concerned, it was the devil at work. Why would bad things keep happening to this dude? Look at he don't lost one coat, he don't lost another coat. Something wrong with this dude, man. He don't mess up. Do you realize that Joseph had to lose 2 coats so he can get the 3rd coat of prominence? Some of you have lost things in life, and the religious world told you it's because you missed God, you didn't pray enough, you didn't fasting. Forget that. Just forget that nonsense. I believe in praying. I believe in fasting. I've written a book on fasting. If you read it, it'll shake what you believe about fasting. So I believe in fasting. But my point is, crisis can be God's best tool in your life in that season. That's why there's a series I taught years ago, God in Exile. It's been converted into a book. If you really want to find God, go to exile. That's why some of the greatest men in the Bible found their wives while they were in exile. Some of the greatest promotion happened while people were in exile. So don't believe the garbage that whenever you're going through stuff is because you ain't got faith. It doesn't matter to me who said it. It's just not true. So I recommend that you visit, go to YouTube and take advantage of those teachings.
Well, Bishop, the other time when you came on, some people were writing that you look like T.D. Jakes.
I hear that a lot. So I tell them T.D. Jakes looks like me.
They say you are the smaller, you are the slim version.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Of T.D. Jakes.
Yeah.
Now, T.D. Jakes is another man that talks a lot about crisis, people's problems, emotional issues, and people's issues.
Yes.
But you just said now, you live in the same state with T.D. Jakes, by the way. So you live in Texas. T.D. Jakes lives in Texas. Why do you say that people don't, this is not the crisis series, it's a rare thing that you've listened to everybody.
Yes, I have.
And this is different.
Yes.
But what would you say is the difference from, because that is it resembles, looks like.
Very, very true.
Looks like the staple for T.D. Jakes. That's what T.D. Jakes normally would talk about. But what makes this series different from the normal T.D. Jakes series that people are using?
To start with, he's done a great job, and I really honor the man of God and what he has done. But he's a preacher. He's preaching about suffering. You're teaching about suffering. Preaching is like painting a house that's already built. Teaching is putting the blocks, the brick together, one stone after the other to build the house. So they're 2 different things. They both are needed. I've listened to his teaching on crisis and suffering and all of that, and I believe he's done a good job. But my take in life and in general is nobody can exceed the level of revelation. You cannot out-teach the truth that you know. So I believe that we all have measure, but what I have heard and what makes what I heard you teach different from everybody else, you not only gave biblical examples and just got hung on biblical example, you gave practical, physical examples that people can relate to. You dealt with what was wrong with some of the past teachings, which some people don't want to touch that because they don't want to offend the friends and that teach those that type of teaching. But you did it in such a way without infringing on anybody or making anybody feel bad. You covered all of the bases. You showed the problem. You showed the solution. You taught from scripture. You gave physical example. You delved into life and how people, what people have heard, what they have taught, what they have been taught about suffering. You came from a total different angle that that's for me personally, I have not heard anybody come from that angle, bringing all of the paradigms together, bringing all the marbles together in one place, a very holistic approach to the subject of suffering and crisis. The way you presented it, you just weren't reading scriptures after scripture or telling one story after story. It was very well organized, so much that a baby, a teenager, or a child can just listen and understand, wow, now I understand what crisis is really all about. So if he asks what the difference is, it is more organized. It has a system set up. It is so structured where you'll understand not just part of it, you made it so user-friendly that it can be understood by anybody. And that, I believe, sets it apart from the others.
You even said unbelievers
that's the beauty of it. You don't have to be a born-again believer to be able to enjoy the benefit of this teaching. The way you presented it, anybody that's human, that's breathing, that's going through stuff will go, oh my God, I wish I heard this a while ago. It is that good. And that's why I recommend it over and over and over again, because it is not presented from a religious perspective where everything is just, and this is, I thank you, Lord. This is what you did that was so profound as far as I'm concerned. You put the devil where he belongs in the midst of crisis. Because the whole picture that's painted in Christianity is whenever there's crisis, it's the devil, the devil, the devil, the devil. But when you dealt with the subject, you put the devil where he belonged and made it known, which was, I was reading some of the comments, shocking to a lot of people, that God can actually be part of the reason or allow you to go through what you're going through for your good. But while going through it may not be convenient, but the way you presented it, it was not, you weren't presenting a blame game where let's just gang up on the devil and blame the devil, because that didn't work. It hadn't worked in 100 years, so it ain't gonna work. But the way you presented that is to look at this and ask yourself, what can I learn out of this? How can I be better? The way you presented crisis is such a way that it makes an individual think, this is happening to me because God is about to do something greater in me. You had a system, a way of talking about crisis, such as a believer and unbeliever will really, really be thankful to God that what happened to them brought value and not disvalue.
Amazing. You are so observant. You are like a scientist.
Thank God.
You study things. You don't just hear things, but you take your time to study. What would make a man like you a bishop? Did you say you spent 2 weeks just listening to those YouTube messages?
2 weeks, and then on a daily,
day and night.
Right. I had to be convinced. I thank the Lord for what God has achieved through you, the largest church in Europe, and all of that. Good. But beyond that, I need to know the heart of the man, and you'll find the heart of a man by listening to a series, not 1, 2, 3. You haven't even got anything here. Listen to as many as you can. Get intoxicated, get drowned in it. And then you'll get to know. Because then you hear, when you listen to somebody teach different subjects, and there's an element of consistency, and the passion remains the same, and the fire remains the same, you know that individual. They're not a fly-by-night. So for 2 consecutive weeks, day and night, I saturated my environment with the teachings because I wanted to know, I wanted to hear your heart, I wanted to discover where you were coming from, not just in one subject, but in every other subject that you've taught. And then on a regular basis, I found it to be very economical, to be really honest with you. Now, what I'm about to say is just me. I'm not recommending this, you can do what you want. But I had a cable, we call cable system, which was the basic cable system, because really I don't need old movies, I don't watch all that. But when I discovered this, and I'd watched a few of those, I used Apple TV. I called them up and asked them to discontinue the service because it wasn't really profitable to me. So I had a continuous streaming on my television, on my big screen television, the teachings that you had on YouTube. So it was very comfortable, very convenient. And it cost me really nothing compared to whatever you're paying for your cable. It doesn't matter if it's $10 or whatever. My point is, take advantage of what's already out there. 2 weeks, I guarantee you, if you would do it 2 weeks consistently listening to the teachings, I recommend to you, I believe by the grace of God, that you would have been transformed more than you would even have believed possible. There are things, believe me, there are things you don't know that you thought you knew. And listen to this, folks, don't ever think because you've been in church for so long, you know it. Believe me, you don't. I guarantee you. When I listen to Pastor Sunday teach on crisis and suffering, I wish I could express it in words. I can't even express it in words. It was that good and it was that powerful. And he said things that I have not heard preachers say before. I mean, that's just the bottom line truth. So in my opinion, when you become too big to learn, you have become too big to grow. I believe, as God said, it's the humble. When we humble ourselves before the Lord, before the word of the Lord, that God will bring increase in our life. So I'm an open learner. I'm a very analytical person. I was sharing with Dr. Adolaja that while the program was going on, I would zoom in on one individual, say one person, and read that person's comment and analyze the comment. I can tell what that individual is. I can tell if they're just, flaky, oh my goodness, just excited, but the word have not really gotten into them. So when I started hearing you say, you have not gotten it until you've listened to it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I said, thank you, Father, because I can see the evidence from some of the comments that people really weren't getting it. They just were excited. And that's the first thing, excitement. But beyond excitement, you got to have your roots going down in the soil of your heart, where the word becomes solid, becomes a tree, not just a little flaky seed that cracked the soil. So I look at that, and there are those that just you can tell how much they've consumed the teaching and they're practicing the teaching. You can pretty much tell where individuals are by what they say and what they write. So I took my time because I needed to analyze practically everything. That's how I'm wired. I'm a forensic analyst. I love to take things apart. When I was a kid, I've always said this, the troubles you get into in life reveals your call and purpose. When I was a kid, my biggest thing, wait until my dad leaves home and I'll unscrew the television, then you had all these diodes. So I'll pull everything out of it just for the fun of it and then try to put everything back. And then when I'm done, I have 15 parts sitting outside. Now I'm crying because I'm gonna get some whooping. So, but that was always me. When my parents saw that, they sort of leaned toward bringing that analytical ability out of me. So I recommend, without going further out, I recommend go listen to these teachings over and over again. Believe me, the first time you listen to a teaching, this is my math, okay? The first time you listen to the teaching, trust me, you only got 10% of it. Believe me. The best listener, you only got 10%. The fourth time you listen to that teaching, you'll be like, my goodness, I didn't know you were saying this. I didn't know that was there. Well, that's just natural. Nobody gets it just by listening to it once. Why waste your driving time? Thank God we have smartphones that can just get you hooked up. And so whatever time you have, driving time, bedtime, instead of going to bed with some dumb program or what have you, please connect with the Word of God. Go with the Word plain overnight. Wake up on the Word of God. Wake up on teaching that is sound. You can hear stuff, you can hear teaching that tickle your ears, but you can't use them. They ain't practical. There's nothing real about them. They just sound good. These materials are practical, usable. It's the truth. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, especially you are from America. Everybody says America does everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the great. So you have everything in America, and you said you don't even go to those conferences anymore.
No, I don't.
But then you got into the airplane, you got to the airplane, bought a ticket, pay your way all around to come here,
yes,
and just spend time with us.
Yes.
Now that tells something about the heart of the man. You not looking for honorarium or to be recognized or to be paid or for money. You paid your own money,
yes,
to be here. Now, But then you are in America where you have conferences every day, every day,
Yes.
every weekend, and then you live in Texas, where is the Bible,
Yes.
Bible Belt? What is happening? By the way, if you have not shared the link yet, if you have not shared the link, if you are not going to share the link, this message, go look for the share button and press your share button. We need to share. This man here is loaded. We need to share this message. Please, everyone, go listen, go share this message. As many of you have not shared it yet, go look for a way to share it.
I'm all for conferences and the great, the wonderful, that serve the purpose, but I want to know what's my take home. So whenever I go to conferences and I get back from conference, I sit down and ask myself, what did I get out of the conference? What did I learn from the conference? What value did this conference add to my life? What actions do I need to take now that I've gone to the conference and I've learned these things? And if the answer to the questions are nothing, no, nothing, none, then that is a conference I have no business going to. So I'm all for going to conferences as long as the conferences add in value. Why? I'm responsible for my time. You're responsible for the use of your time. And we all will account for what we did with our time. So I'm not about anybody, doesn't matter, I love them, love everybody, but I'm not going to allow anybody to insult my intelligence by abusing my time. Life is time. So I'm not going to allow somebody to abuse my time and insult my intelligence by telling me the same stories over and over again and just a new version of the story. So one of the reasons why I do not go to some conferences is simply because they aren't adding value to my life. It's the same old story with a new twist. Jesus wore size 11. Who cares if he wore size 9? What does that do to life? What value does that add? So if you're one of those which in America we have a lot of people that are addicted to conferences, ask yourself, do what I do. Ask yourself at the end of the conference, what value did it add to me?
But maybe they are looking for something.
Well, how long can you keep looking? You're going to the same place, looking for the same thing. All you get is an emotional ecstasy, but you're really not getting what you want, what your heart is really craving for. Then look somewhere else. It's just that's common sense.
Someone told me that Pastor Sunday, you are the, what is it, best hidden secret or whatever. You're the great, yeah, something like that. So I said, why secret? I'm out there in the internet. Why secret?
Well, a lot of people don't know that you're there. I had asked a few people, have you heard, I remember everybody that I met, everyone that I ran into in the business community and in religious circles, friends, whatever, have you heard about the book Money Would Make You Rich? Like, not really. I said, have you heard of it? Do you know a gentleman that's called Dr. Sunday Adelaja? Not really. I said, are you serious? How long have you been on earth? I'm serious. Oh, really? I said, I'm gonna promise you. And there are people that may be watching this that I had this conversation with. I said, if you buy the book, Money Would Make You Rich, you read the book and the book didn't add value, bring it back to me. I'll double what you paid for it.
Wow.
If you paid $20, I'll give you $40 for insulting your intelligence. And I ask you to forgive me for insulting your intelligence. I've told everyone that I know because the book is that good. The material is that powerful. What works does not, we don't have to have apologies for what works. So yes, indeed, you are, and I, in my opinion, have been the best kept secret. I believe part of that is because you've been in Russia for all these years, and so the West,
30 years.
Right, 30 years, so the West really didn't get to know a whole lot about you.
And I've been speaking Russian. I've not been preaching in English.
I'm amazed that your Russian is just smooth as a Russian. And a lot of people really did not know. So whoever made that statement really they're telling the truth.
Because people are saying, okay, I wish I know. Even all the people who are watching now, maybe 90% of them will say, I wish I knew this. I wish I came across the stations. 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. Well, people are even challenging me and say, Pastor Sunday, where were you 20 years ago? Where were you 30 years ago? Where were you 10 years ago? Even you, lady that's sitting here, you say, Pastor Sunday, where were you 10 years ago? Please, what happened? Where were you? That's what people say. But 10 years ago, I had internet. I was,
wow.
But people just don't know, right?
Wow.
This is why, where were you?
This is why I believe the burden of proof is on this group of the family, the DSA family and friends, to make known what God has made available.
Okay.
I believe that we have the responsibility to use every tool and every means necessary to create visibility. I've always believed I enjoy doing product analysis and research. I believe that it doesn't matter how great the product is.
Right.
If the product is not known, forget about it. Ooh. So you could have a 5-carat diamond that's about $6 million in the basement of a house, and the guy across the street is a jeweler. If he does not know you have that 6-carat diamond, forget about it. And I believe we need to make known what God has made available. It's here on earth. I believe it needs to be made known. And one of the reasons why you've had some resistance, that's just, to me, it's just normal. If there weren't resistance, I'll question the validity of what you're knowing. I will question it. If there weren't resistance and the religious community weren't saying certain things and everybody in the religious community just applauded you, I wouldn't bother. If you sent me a free ticket, I wouldn't come. I wouldn't bother. Because it's how to prove. It's how to prove what God's really in. If you really want to know where God's wind is blowing, look at the man or the woman who has been resisted by even those who are supposed to celebrate him. Jesus was God's wind on the face of the earth. The religious community came after him. They could not understand him. They thought he was messing up business. So I was very careful. I mean, I read all the dumb stuff on the internet. It didn't bother me. But I knew for certain that a man's crisis reveals the depth of his calling.
Wow.
So when I heard, and you talked about some of the things that you've gone through, it was clear that what people are attacking today, they'll celebrate tomorrow. That's always how life is. When the man, all inventors, all men and women who invented great things, when they were working on it, they were either called crazy, they were rejected, some of them were supposed to be locked up and all of that. But after the invention became popular, it's gone worldwide, they're celebrated. So I believe that whatever is in the cutting edge will face resistance, but it becomes a burden on the individual to keep charging because they know what God's calling them to do. And I believe going to the battlefield with people that believe just like I believe.
Ooh. Bishop, that's amazing. Now, you've been here to Ukraine to see what is happening here. And, in Ukraine now we have, because I'm planning to go to Africa, so we divided our church into 45 services. So you only went to one service. At the same time, we're having 45 other services all across the city. So, but then you've also been to other places. So how has your experience in Ukraine been, just for people to know?
It's been very enlightening, very eye-opening. You read about certain things, but then when you physically experience it, it's a whole nother dimension compared to what you've had before. I went to the orphanage, where children orphanage, just an amazing project. And then the father's house, where men who had gone through crisis are being trained and mentored how to be a father. And that's something that you don't hear a lot talked about.
And it's not a church paying for this.
And that's one of the things. I listen to each of the folks that say, well, we create a system where we're not being funded by the church. We find our own funding. That's something that you don't have a lot of out there, in at least From where I'm coming from in the United States, the burden is always on the church to finance this project, to finance this auxiliary and the other. But these folks found ways to make it work where the burden is not on the church. Somebody takes ownership of the vision and begins to work on it to the point that they start having people who sponsor them. And so they raise the funds. I went to a rehabilitation. That's what it is, a drug rehabilitation. Amazing. They even ministering to somebody. There was one of the rehabilitation that I went to ministers to people who are Russian and those who are English speaking. So this place accommodate English speaking ex-addicts and Russian ex-addict. And these folks reach out when the environment is so friendly, so warm, so receptive, not condemning. And the gentleman talked about what they taught the people, how to build the people one step after the other. And the track record is absolutely phenomenal. I have personally, that's just personal, I have not seen an outreach to the substance abuser before done in this manner. Now in New York, when I was in New York, we had outreach out there, but it was not at this level. This was absolutely something worth coming to Ukraine for, just to take a tour and learn practically from people that have done it. It's worked.
And we have over 300 of those.
And there are over 300 of them. I mean, so the track record, the volume speaks for itself.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. What are you taking back? You're going back tomorrow. What are you taking back home from here, from your visit?
Very, it's hard to put in one word. There's just a few things that I'm going back with. I like the way, the very fluid way that you operate. It's commendable. I would say that you're not living in a mental ivory tower where people can't reach you. You make yourself, in spite of all that God's accomplished through you, you make yourself accessible. It's one thing to preach humility, but it's another thing to actually live it, to become embodied in that particular truth. And that, I notice you do that with ease, without any effort. That's just who you are. But as far as what I take home with me, because I go to another country from here, but what I take home with me is the fact that God's word and the way you...
Could you tell us what country you go to so that people in that country, I'm sure there will be somebody from that country here, or you're not going to minister there?
No, I live here for London. I leave London, I go to Brussels. In Brussels, I'm doing leadership training. There
are people from Brussels here, from Belgium, and from England as well.
Right, Pain de Ville, I believe that's French. That's the church. Pastor Sosta, if you're in Brussels, is a very well-known.
What dates will you be in those places?
I leave London the 21st for Brussels, and I leave Brussels March 1st. So from February the 15th, which is tomorrow, to the 21st, I'm in London.
And then from
the 21st to March the 1st, I'm in Brussels. I leave.
So people could write to you to your inbox.
Right. And I'll give them the information.
Find out more information.
That is correct.
Yeah, someone is writing right now. Belgium is in the house.
Oh, wow. Wow, awesome. That's good. Awesome.
So if they write you to your
inbox,
Facebook,
right? I'll get them all the details there.
Yeah. So you are talking about what you are taking from here,
right? I'm really encouraged with the outreach that I saw.
Okay.
That I'm taking with me. Something I'm going to sit with my team and work out something practical and tangible. We're already, if you call it, addicted to truth. And it's a must do. Everyone in our church, everyone in my leadership across the nations, it's mandatory to read 3 of your books.
Wow!
And if you will follow me all these years, then you trust my judgment. Mandatory, you read 3 books. That's just your starter. And so when you read these 3 books, money wouldn't make you rich. I told them, if you really want to get high on Jesus and know what church is supposed to be, read Church Shift. And of course, the Nigerian revolutionary book, Only God Can Save Nigeria, What a Myth. You got to read it. And I told him, I watched the review. You had a guest from, I believe it was Uganda. He did an excellent job. I really, really, really commend the job he did. So for our people, we are aware of we're aware of your materials, and they've started reading it. And our goal is to have groups that will sit down and develop a study out of it, because I'm not just interested in just reading it, but I want the truth to become tangible in their lives. So back to the answer to the question, one is the outreach that you have here. I learned some things as far as the outreach, and I love the way that it is organized. It gave everyone the opportunity. Even the ex-addict have come from the backside to become leader, and is leading and is teaching, rather than some guy, which I have nothing against, some theologian who is not an addict, never been there, don't know what he's talking about, just throwing scriptures at the people. But this is one of their own that have been raised to become leader. I really love that.
And that's the same way we've set up church. So people from different walks of life in the church, everybody in the church must have a sphere of life that they're taking charge of like that. Glory. They make their own money. Glory. And they are working to subdue their own particular sphere of life.
Glory to God. Praise God.
Okay, some young men were here today.
Right.
One of them is doing just clubs. Another one is in secret service.
Wow.
Another one, just different. Everybody must have a sphere of life.
Yes.
The Alex, the tall guy, you see, yes. He's a football manager's representative.
Wow.
Igor is having a business about computer, robots, teaching kids how to use robots. Yeah. Wow. So everybody have a sphere where they are subduing, not just that for business. They are working, and then most of their money is being used to advance the kingdom in that particular sphere of life, in their own particular sphere of life.
Wow.
Is there any question I have not asked you? Or is there any question that our viewers would like to ask the bishop? But Bishop, is there any, before they get the question, is there any question? They're asking you, why are you going to be in England? I said, no, just write him to the Facebook.
Right, to the Facebook.
Send, just write to his Facebook inbox, and he will give you all the details after that, because right now we're in the program and he cannot write anything right now, so we're just talking. So you write him to the Facebook and he will give you the answer. Is there anything I didn't ask you?
Not that I remember. You pretty much covered the whole landscape.
Anything you'd like to say here? Or share? Okay. Exceptional knowledge, people are saying.
Praise God.
Well, Bishop, it's really been a wonderful learning experience for me to just watch you and see you being here with us, and just to see your heart, your humility, your simplicity, and how you approach things, and all the wisdom you've shared with us. And I want to just appreciate you, and I want to say thank you so very much for helping us spread this message, spread this word, and all these ideas that you have given to us. And I want to challenge everybody that's watching that we should all go out to, let's all go out to practice. Let's listen to this interview again and again, and let's go ahead and practice all the things that the bishop has spoken to us. What is Bishop's Facebook name? I think it's the same with his name.
Richard Eberigai.
Yeah, Bishop Richard Eberigai. You see, I wrote the name. Yeah, just like that, Bishop Richard Eberigai. So that's his name. You go there, you find him. Okay. They want you to talk more about what you spoke about the other day, the invention, the idea you had with the pastor. And how God has been using you with ideas and inventive ideas and things like that. So before we go, that's one question that some people want to hear from you.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to have been given, this was in the early 80s, before the explosion of DVDs and all of that. I had in prayer, and this is what I so much thank the Lord. I was so excited when I heard Dr. Adelaja talking to believers and teaching, preaching and teaching stuff that believers got to be open their minds so that God can flood their minds with ideas and creativity and be in business and work. I was just, because it's not popular, because that was my experience. It's not popular. It's all about spiritual things, and binding demons, and there's a place for that, but it's not the whole life. So before DVD became very well known, I had an idea, and I was part of a body. The senior pastor was a man that worked for IBM, and he purported to be a scientist. So, but I had in a vision. God shows me visions like you watch television. When you're watching television, if it's football you're watching, you know what you're watching. That ain't no secret. So the Lord showed me an invention, and it would be an entertainment system in a car. And at that point in time, there weren't any entertainment system. All you got was just radio and your cassette, and that was about it. But this was way back then. So I put it together, sketched it together, and did my homework. And then, of course, talked to somebody in the legal field who knows how to pitch this product. And I was all very excited about this. And I gave reasons, because the rule and the law of creation states every product, every creation must solve at least 3 problems. That's the reason when you read the book of Genesis, I live in Genesis. The whole New Testament is hidden in the first 3 chapters of the book of Genesis. I live in the book of Genesis. I spent a year studying the first 5 verses, 2 years, the first 5 verses of the book of Genesis, because it's so rich, there's so much into it. So I did a presentation to the pastor, because he said he was a technology guy. And he looked at me and he laughed. He said, that was a good idea, but I tell you something, it ain't going nowhere. Ain't never going to be a time there's going to be entertainment in cars. Forget about it. That just, that idea is just not of God. And, well, I thought, he is a technology man, so he knows what he's talking about. Well, lo and behold, the fatal mistake that I made was not pursuing it, because I looked at the spiritual office of this man and allowed his spiritual office to override natural realities. Now, I believe in honoring people who have spiritual authority over our lives and all that. But it turns out he was just a paper pusher. He was a manager, office manager. He was not technologically savvy like he made me believe. And this was pitched to the BMW and the Mercedes corporation. And this was, back then the value was in the tens of millions of dollars. But when he said there was nothing to it, sad to say that I abandoned such treasure, such wealth, and walked away. So after I recovered from that, obviously I have other things, other innovative ideas that I'm working on. I believe firmly, and I'm called, and I've had this conversation with Dr. Elijah, I'm called as a prophet and a teacher when it wasn't popular to be a prophet. And I'm not hung on titles. I want you to know that. I'm practical in whatever I do. But I remember crystal clear that God would show me products. Since it's an innovative idea, I want you to take this idea. So when you go to God, or you're in prayer, as I love Dr. Elijah calls it solitude, when you have that time with the Lord, just don't expect the Lord to reveal how to cast out demons to you. Also listen for God to give you creative ideas, because in the presence of the Lord there is fullness. And the word joy does just not mean being tickled. There is fullness, there's plenty, there's abundance in the presence of the Lord. So I'm saying this to say, for every one of you that are listening, ask yourself what you have done with the idea God dropped in your heart. Now I want you to remember this. You remember when Jesus said, who do men say that I am? And then he answered, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, thou art Christ, the Son of the living God. Peter didn't even know that was a revelation from God. It sounded like his own idea. And I'm saying this to say to you that God's idea, God's thought inside of you will almost sound like your idea. So there wouldn't be lightning and thundering in the sky to prove that it's God. It would just be an idea dropped in my heart. pursue that idea. One of the reasons people have stayed broke is because God's given them ideas that they never worked. I'm a living example. In New York, I pastored the church, and in my prayer time with the Lord, I told the Lord rather, I said, Lord, I'm tired of pastoring poor people. They're just poor, broken, busted. And the Lord said, no, they're millionaires. I said, no, you must be making a mistake. I know this, folks. They're broke. And the Lord said, no, they're not. He said, the reason I said they're millionaires is because I have given a lot of them ideas that would make them millions, but they have done nothing with it. Rather, they're stuck with Uncle Sam's 9 to 5. Salary is secured, so why delve into something else? So to prove what I had heard, I went to church on Sunday, and I asked the folks, how many of you, this was back then in the 80s, how many of you have an idea that you know came from God? Raise your hand. 80% of the hands went up. I said, how many of you have had this idea for 5 years? Hands were still up. How many of you have had it for 10 years? Hands were still up. So the money was always in the house. The people just didn't apply themselves. So I learned since then to be very sensitive in my communication with God, in my fellowship with God, that God is not just looking to kill me and take me to heaven. He wants you and I to be useful, productive here on earth. And I guarantee you, those of you listening to this broadcast, I guarantee you, as you become sensitive and you now pair all the teachings you've gotten from Dr. Elijah about being productive, being useful here on earth, doing something with your hands, I guarantee you, all of a sudden you start realizing, oh my God, I remember the product, the idea God gave to me. I've done nothing with it. I tell you something the Lord gave to me just, I believe it was early this year, which is just about a month ago. I'm not into clothing business. I'm not a clothing designer, but I had this ingenious idea. And with the way it works with me, God will give me the idea and give me a picture of it, a vision of it. And this is something that men can use. It's nowhere on the face of the earth. Now I have got to run. I have got to act. So for me, the experience that I had back then that caused me to lose all that money I could have made out of that invention, it taught me to be very diligent with what I receive and be careful who you share your idea with, because they can kill the idea before its birth, which was what I experienced back then. So I would recommend that, I hope this gives some clarity, but I would recommend that whatever God's given to you, please be diligent, write it down. And the last thing you should ever say is to call your idea a stupid idea. So, oh, it's just a stupid idea. Well, if it came from God, it ain't stupid. You just aren't smart enough to know the value of it. So please, I beg of you, don't call your ideas stupid, and don't even fall in the trap of saying, well, that's just me. You ain't that smart. God is smarter than you. But what we got to do is to be diligent, to be faithful. When we're faithful in little, He'll make us ruler over much. Every book that I have written, God gave me the title, or God gave me, or showed me a vision of the book cover. God knows how to talk to you. All you got to do is be sensitive, have a system of accountability that will sustain. So whatever you do, learn to know that God wants to prosper you beyond 9 to 5. We call it Uncle Sam. Some of you are still doing your job. It's great and wonderful, pays the bill. But you and I know God gave you an idea that you have not done anything about. It's just dormant. Would you start praying about it? Because for every idea, God already has provision. How will you find the provision? When you start doing something. Years ago, I was in New York, and the Lord told me to write a book, The 4 Dimensions of Spiritual Covering, and told me that some of the so-called spiritual covering are nothing but prostitution. That it has nothing, he has nothing to do with it, and showed me spiritual covering. I had never heard anybody taught that before, what I had seen. But I learned from that experience how to capture what God shows you, take it and run with it as fast as possible, and not wait to psychoanalyze it and see who likes it or who don't, because that was one of the mistakes I made back then. Didn't want to rock the boat until I realized whether you rock the boat or not, the waves will rock the boat. So if you don't rock the boat, God will let the waves rock the boat. So be diligent, be defiant, be ready to run with what God has given to you, and I guarantee you, you will not regret it.
Wow, you switch on the prophetic right there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the evening. We are running to 2 hours already. I wanted to do 1 hour program, but here we are. Thank you, Bishop. And if you are in London or you are in Belgium, that's the blessing you could get. And thank you so very much. And by the way, let me use this opportunity to congratulate everybody that is out there who is still likes to celebrate all kinds of occasions. And what do they have today? Valentine Day, Love Day, Valentine Day. I want to use this opportunity to congratulate all of you, and especially if you are single. And especially if you're a single woman, I want to use this opportunity to congratulate you and to tell you that you are no more single. We have DSA family. You are no more single. You have a family here. And we are all for you. We are all with you. So, and that's why we specially put this program for today. So, so that you could be ministered to by worthy men, deserving men. And you feel love. Of course, the love of Christ is the ultimate and the best of all. But, just for you to know that we're thinking about you and we care for you as well. So don't let the enemy put you down into the level of feelings and emotions and, and sensuality. And things like that. So know that you are ever loved, and every day is a love day for you. Every day is Valentine Day for you. So don't ever go there. Don't go there. Instead of going there, go to the YouTube and log yourself into all the messages of Pastor Sunday, or go to DSA TV. You see a lot of interesting things for him. Don't forget what we discussed. Bishop told us wonderful ideas about, have you been watching DSA TV? And then about the postcards and about the cards and about, all kind of different ideas, your testimonies, your stories, and about, sending us your broadcast, and let's put you over there on the airwaves and let everybody get to be blessed by you and what you're doing. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your time. It was nice spending this time with you today. And of course, Saturday, let's begin to spread the word about Saturday, about analytical thinking and Saturday event. I hope you are blessed by that. Last Saturday was just the beginning of analytical thinking. That was the start. So, thinking about, tomorrow, then from next Saturday, we're going to begin to take them one by one. That was just the introduction last Saturday, but this week, this Saturday, we're going to begin to come back to you and talk about, the principles of analytical thinking. And, we still have a long way to go, but God is going to help us. And thank God for all of you for coming out today. And don't forget, go and share the DSA TV 5 times a day. Just go there, even if you don't have time to watch, just make sure that you go share the DSA TV. Do you have the card, the links? Yeah? And then concerning the card that Bishop Eberigai designed for us, you have the card actually. You have the card, you just need to go there and print it out. So, and we are going to upgrade it as well. But, but you can go there and get that card, print it out. The link is put there by Mayowa Viva. If you go to Mayowa Viva, you will see the link to the card. You see the link to the card. So you could go to the card and print it out. But we will make sure tonight or tomorrow we'll update it, and so that it could be easily done to the current something today. But go get the link. The most important thing is for you to get the link. Once you have the link, you'll be able to get there and you'll see the update. So thank you so very much for the evening. Thank you, Bishop. You've really blessed. You read the comments. You have the time to read all the comments. People are really pouring out their hearts to you. Yes. Thank you so much. And you people are aware, right, that I am getting ready to release my new book in the next 2 weeks. The latest book I'm going to be releasing, of course, is The Mountain of The Mountain of Ignorance. That's going to be another wow book. It's going to be another very, very astonishing book. You'll be shocked by the content of it. Okay, so it's not coming across here. Yeah, but anyway, you have it on our site and everywhere. So it's going to be, we're going to be seeing more and more advertisement about the mountain of ignorance. And I want to release. I have my golden jubilee. I'm going to be 50 in May. Before May, I plan to release 10 books, so that there will be 10 books that will be there towards my birthday. So we'll give the world 10 new books as a blessing, and that's a good way to celebrate your birthday. Write 10 books, and I could have written 50 books, but I don't think I have the energy to do that right now to celebrate 58th birthday. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful evening. God bless. Bye.